The liberals in the media, they get it. They know the clown car that is the Democrat Party. They're watching this slow train crash happening, and they can't do anything to stop it. They're begging them, please just be normal, and they just can't do it. We're going to show you all the pleas and then all the deaf ears that are hearing them as they just swerve into insanity, go full Leroy Jenkins on their wackadoodle nuts. You're going to see all the Democrats, including one reporter for CNN who is so angry at a Black Chicago resident who wants more cops on the ground that she can't hide her disgust. We're going to show you all of that and the insanity that cops in D.C. are having to deal with right now, thanks to your Democrat Party. Plus, yesterday, cabinet meeting was a free-for-all. I was like 3 hours with the media in the room. We're going to give all the high points, the low points, the funny points, and some really somber moments when reporters told their story about how they were attacked by violent criminals in your nation's capital. All that coming up right now. We're brought to you by Birch Gold. My name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. Hello. Please like and subscribe this way. You guys have been hitting the thumbs up like nuts, and it's doing the trick. Have you noticed? Have you noticed the number of people joining us during the live stream skyrockets? That's how these things work. Leave your comments. Say hi to us in the live chat. Say hi to each other. I love the little sub community we've created here during every live stream. Do all that, like us, and then when you get the moment, go over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and subscribe. Give us a rating. Give us a review, and it really means the world to us. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate you being part of our family here. We've got this divide now between Trump and the Fed. There's going to be a showdown over Trump trying to fire this one governor. Jerome Powell might be next. The Fed doesn't seem to be reacting to the realities of our economy right now. What does this mean for us? Does it mean there's going to be a potential economic slowdown? Could we be on the brink of maybe a recession if the Fed doesn't step up? And what are you going to do to protect your savings? How about you consider diversifying in gold? Talk to Birch Gold Group. Our pals over there have been at it for decades. Gold has been viewed by many as a safe haven in times of economic stagnation, global uncertainty, high inflation. Birch Gold can make it incredibly easy for you to diversify some of your savings into gold. So if you have an IRA right now or maybe an old 401k, you can convert that into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Or you can just buy some gold to keep in your safe. But first, you got to get educated. Birch Gold's going to send you a free info kit on gold. Just text my name, Larry, to 989898. That's my name, Larry, 989898. If the Fed can't get their act together and stay ahead of the curve for the country, at least you can take action for yourself. That's Larry to 989898. Do it today. All right. A harsh reality set in today on Morning Joe as a political reporter basically said the Democrats need to get their act together. Just stop being nuts. Stop being crazy, or they're never going to win again. I'm going to show you that harsh reality. And wait till you see this CNN reporter who was just so dismayed, disgusted at a Black woman in Chicago who says, yeah, we want more cops here. That'll help us. Please, we're begging you. She was so angry. It's great. I'm going to show you that clip coming up in a sec. But first, to Joe and his wife, right? They're married? Sure. Mika, talking about the real problem the Dems are facing.
About your latest piece in Politico magazine titled, Trump is leaning on crime, which you just said. Democrats need a better response and fast. So, yeah, tell us more about what you found, because as Ali was reporting back on what Democrats were excited about, what they've done over the past 6 months, one was a Texas redistricting move that didn't do anything. The second was Cory Booker talking for a real long time on the Senate floor, which didn't do anything. Let's talk about crime. And first thing I always ask is, if somebody's coming at me with an issue, how do I, take the issue away from them and reply in a stronger way? And, what's the Democrats' answer to that? If they're not going to be supporting more, like Bill Clinton, 100,000 cops on the street, what's the Democrats' response?
Well, you would think they would sort of use the opportunity to say, look, we're not soft on crime. You're accusing us of being soft on crime. We're not. We're going to call for more police officers. We're going to call for sort of an end to various decriminalization efforts that we've seen across the country since the 2020 George Floyd protests. There was sort of this movement to sort of back off a number of prosecutions. Voters have shown that they do not support that movement and actually have pushed back on in Democratic areas like Portland, like New York, like Chicago. So you would think Democrats would sort of attack this issue that way. But I've got to say, you're not seeing a lot of leaders. And I mean, from a purely political standpoint, Donald Trump on this issue believes he has the upper hand. And I think you're seeing that right now. I mean, we see a lot of Democrats talking about how, oh, this is authoritarian, right? But look, voters don't like overtly partisan power grabs, sure. But there's one thing they don't like even more, and that is feeling unsafe in their own neighborhoods. I mean, crime is a top issue for voters, especially in recent years, and it traditionally favors Republicans in their sort of tough on crime response. I mean, you guys have talked about how you think voters in New York believe crime is coming down, but if you look at polling nationwide, that is actually not the case. I mean, I was just looking at a poll yesterday, or I guess the day before when I was writing this piece, found that 70% of Americans thought crime was just as bad right now as it had been in recent years, or is actually getting worse. And something like 20% actually thought it was coming down. So when you think about voters and how they feel right now, Trump is really leaning in and sort of latching on to those fears, changing the subject away from things like Medicaid cuts or, you know, the midterms being a referendum on him. He's trying to move it back to crime. And I mean, you asked panelists, does he have the authority to do this, to go to Chicago, to put the National Guard in New York? I would contend that it's not about winning this fight. It's about the fight itself. He wants to be the one to tell voters, I'm tough on crime. What are you going to do? And what Democrats are doing right now is saying, oh, you don't have the authority and crime is down. That doesn't resonate with people. Yeah. You have to have specific solutions about how you're going to protect their communities.
There's so much to unpack here, but I hope that you were paying attention to what you heard. I do love that. Sure, Americans don't like, authoritarianism and unilateral acts with law enforcement, but you know what they don't like even more? Rape and murder. That's not exactly how she put it. That's basically where they are here. And also very important that nowhere in this conversation on Morning Joe on MS Now with a political reporter discussing crime problems in our cities, crime rates, and effective law enforcement measures that can be employed to reverse the trend of defunding the police and reimagining law enforcement and all those things that got us to where we are right now. At no point was the conversation about, you know what, people's lives are at stake here. People's property. People don't want to get robbed. They don't want to get mugged. They don't want their children kidnapped or assaulted, or they don't want sexual predators in their neighborhood. They want a good quality of life where they know that they're safe in their neighborhoods and that their tax dollars are keeping them safe. That was never the equation. The entire conversation was, wow, the Democrats need to get on top of this issue. Otherwise, they're going to lose the next election. Right? Fascinating, isn't it? If Democrats at this point, if they change their tune on this thing and they come out with all this new messaging about how Democrats are going to, bring cops to the streets and they're going to get tough on crime, just understand something. They don't give a crap about you. They don't give a crap about you or your family or your neighborhood or your car getting stolen or your home getting broken into. They don't care about murder. They don't care about homeless. They don't care about the degradation of our Western civilization. All they care about, if they do change their tune, it's a cynical ploy to get your vote. It's a cynical ploy to convince you that they're not insane. Spoiler alert, they are. I wrote about this earlier this morning on my Substack, Larry VIP. Trump deploys the guards, Democrats deploy excuses, because they're talking about everything except crime. And, forgive me, and this AP poll that she just referred to at Politico actually backs it up. Take a look at these numbers. The question in the AP poll to Americans: most see crime as a major problem in large cities. This is the percentage of Americans who say crime is a major problem. All U.S. adults, 81%. We talk about these 80-20 issues. Trump is talking about crime and doing something about crime in the only city that he has direct control over, and in a city where most Americans think it's a lost cause and has been a lost cause for decades, Washington, D.C., right at a time where this poll says 81% of Americans think this is a major problem. You break it down by party, Republicans, 96%, Independents, 72%, but look at that number. Democrats, 68% of Democrats think this is a major issue, and Democrats are waving it away. They're just, no. The real problem is Medicaid cuts. So it seems pretty obvious what needs to be done here, right? So let's take a sampling across the cable news spectrum about what's really going on now with regard to crime and the political perspectives on it.
The fact of the matter is we're listening to a lot of Democrats in deep blue cities. And while they may want to gloss over this issue, there are people who live all across the nation that we're going to need come 2026, come 2028, that desperately care about crime. And not only that, we're doing very poor fundraising. I mean, we're at 13 million given to the RNC's 84 million. What does that say? It means that voters don't have confidence enough to even give us that money to support our candidates. The fact of the matter is crime does matter, and we have to start talking about it.
So that's Fox News, and that woman, that guest, that analyst is actually a former Biden administration official. That's a Democrat who is saying my party is losing it. And please stop being crazy. Stop being insane. Talk like a normal human being and get something done. That's what elected officials or people who want your vote to be an elected official are supposed to communicate to you, the voter, that they're responsible and they're going to do some of the basics, like, keeping the city streets clean and orderly and making sure that if somebody breaks the law, they get arrested and put away for jail. Democrats can't bring themselves to do that. Over on CNN, Van Jones, well, he sort of gets there, but not really.
300%. Listen, you talked about Baltimore, you talked about Chicago. There are other places like Philadelphia. There are too many funerals. There are too many kids who are more used to, frankly, going to funerals than going to graduations. There are too many teddy bears on sidewalks with balloons and flowers because somebody got killed again this weekend. That's true. But when you talk to the people at the grassroots level, what do they want? Those grandmas who are on the front line, those coaches on the front line, none of them are calling for troops. They're saying, actually, under Biden, you finally got some dollars down to the grassroots level for violence interrupters, people who are being paid to go into neighborhoods and talk to these kids. And it turned out nothing stops a bullet like a job. And they were starting to bring it down. And they were finally seeing some hope. Guess what? The big, beautiful bill took all that away. So you actually have stopped the process of eliminating this youth violence. That's going to go in the wrong direction. And now you're sending in people whose job is not to talk to these young people, not to give them hope. Their only job of a soldier is to shoot somebody. So you're disrespecting local law enforcement that's been at the table with these grassroots groups, saying that you're no longer any good, and you're sending in people from other states with guns who have no training to help these young people. This is an unmitigated disaster for those of us who don't lie and pretend that crime isn't a problem. Crime is a problem, but the way you solve it is not by sending in troops from somebody else's state that they don't know a gang member from a basketball coach and expect things to work out well. This is a terrible idea, and he should get off of it.
There you go. So there's Van Jones acknowledging that there's too much crime, there's too many murders, there's too many grieving families in the inner city. But the solution is, I love that they keep saying troops, carrying guns around. No, the solution is more big government programs to send social workers in. And I just want to re-emphasize, whenever you hear this pablum, these talking points of nothing stops a bullet like getting a kid a job, it's so insulting. It is so insulting to all of the people who are unemployed who don't pick up a gun and start killing people. Don't let them get away with that. I know that it seems very wise. It seems so spiritual. Oh, if only these young people had jobs, they wouldn't be committing crimes. No, murderers can be very gainfully employed. In fact, a lot of the people who are engaged in this violent criminal behavior, they work their asses off for the gangs and for the drug dealers. They're working. And they're not going to take Van Jones's minimum wage job at McDonald's or in some, green energy concern that's going nowhere. This isn't a problem of employment. This is a problem of morals and ethics, right and wrong, and law and order. And having cities that have been constructed in such a way with civil disobedience as the prime objective of the elected officials who got their power as their mayor or city council members, who continue to tell people who live in these neighborhoods that they don't have a future, that they don't have a hope because of the white racist society that they've been born into. It feeds into this idea that the only way they can get out is crime. The only way they can get out is criminal behavior. Glorifying the gangster rap artists who have gold dripping off of their bodies and saying, oh, well, that's how I get wealth. That's how I get women. That's how I get power. So I'm just going to emulate those guys. And Lord knows none of these Democrats will ever condemn it. They enable it. And the best lesson you can tell somebody is not to get them a job so they can go work. The best lesson, the first lesson, is don't kill people. Don't rob people. And if you do, you're going away for the rest of your life. You start with that, and then you start to build up their moral character so that they recognize that doing the right thing, being a father, being a husband, and building a community is what they're supposed to do. It's why they were created and put on this planet. Just my opinion. But I'm not a smart guy like Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin, congressman from Montgomery County, Maryland, just on the border of Washington, D.C., he sees firsthand the crime in the District of Columbia. And what's his message? Again, you got Van Jones, you got the former Biden administration official, you got the reporter from Politico, you got your AP poll, all saying the same thing. Democrats, don't be insane. Don't say stupid crap about crime. Enter Jamie Raskin.
And the military is not supposed to be used for ordinary law enforcement purposes. In D.C., he was talking about cleaning up the graffiti and, dealing with the blight of homelessness, which are obviously local, not federal issues. And he's trying to militarize our society, intimidate his political opponents. The whole idea of picking cities based on their partisan leadership is absurd. I mean, there are lots of Republican cities and towns struggling with crime. Everybody is across the country. Always, crime has always been part of our history, and yet crime is down. In D.C., for example, it's at a 30-year low. It's down in Baltimore. It's down in Chicago. But the point is that in our system of federalism, the different branches of government and the different departments of government are supposed to work together. If Donald Trump thinks he's got some great ideas for Chicago or Miami or Houston, Texas, or whatever, he should call a summit for the White House and say, hey, here's some ideas where the feds can work together with states and localities, not have a series of rolling National Guard invasions of people's cities.
Rolling National Guard invasions. This man is a sitting congressman in the United States House of Representatives and just referred to the National Guard being lawfully deployed as an invasion. If God forbid there is any violent act against a National Guardsman who is being deployed in one of these cities, you can blame this guy for calling them invaders. Also, what was that? Crime has always been a part of our history. Well, that's a great man. You know what? Democrats, that should be your messaging. You're right. You're right. Hey, crime's always been a part of our history. Forever. Vote for us. They can't help it. They can't help it. Which brings me to this, my favorite clip of the day. This is a CNN reporter who went out on the streets in Chicago to talk to people about how they support or oppose the idea of more law enforcement and the mayor of Chicago, the governor of Illinois, cooperating with the federal government. Before I run this clip, I just want to prepare you. No matter what the people on the street in Chicago say, I mean, she literally was going out there to try to find out what their opinions are. But the most important thing to remember is this woman right here, she knows better than them. I don't even know why she bothered, because she knows it all. She knows way better. Just watch and absorb the disdain that she has for the woman who actually wants some help as she tries to make her way through the city streets of Chicago.
I spoke with one woman yesterday who said that she's concerned about the National Guard. She's opposed to it. But I spoke with another woman who said she welcomes it. Here's why she says this could be a good thing.
My first reaction was that this is a good thing. I think that the governor as well as the mayor should be on board with it just so we can get a bit more of security in Chicago the way that we need.
The crime has dropped since 2024. Do you feel like the city feels safer?
No, not at all. No, especially with the police being defunded.
Brianna, there's city data to show that the police department has seen some increases in funding. But what I'll say, Brianna, is that of course, you're hearing some people say that they support it, other people say they don't support it. Even still, leaders here say that they're going to fight it. And the Illinois Attorney General has made very clear the moment that he feels like he has enough of a case to fight this, he plans to go to court to try to stop the National Guard from coming here. Brianna,
The arrogance, the absolute arrogance and sanctimony and superiority. I love that disappointment on her face. Well, statistics show that there has been an increase in funding for the police. They haven't been defunded. Well, no, I guess they haven't, because she knows best. Meanwhile, again, as Democrats continue to hear the message to just stop being insane, I present to you the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass.
I feel like the ultimate goal here is to normalize this overreach, where National Guard was never needed here in Los Angeles. There were thousands of troops, and the only thing they did was stood outside a building. The majority of the troops were on a base nearby playing video games and resenting the fact that they were used in that way.
They just can't help themselves but to diminish, demean, and disregard our men and women in uniform and talk down about them, call them invaders, as you saw from Jamie Raskin, or in this case, just say that they're sitting around playing video games. I remember when Gavin Newsom first addressed the idea of Marines from Camp Pendleton coming up into Los Angeles, and she says, Marines, they only know one thing, and that's to kill people in war. And he wants to be your president. They just can't help themselves. No, they can't. And so what happens at the end of the day on CNN when we have our favorite little round table on Abby Phillips' show?
Caught up in the nuance that you're bringing forward, what they care about. We haven't even mentioned war zones like downtown San Francisco after 7 o'clock where I work, or Hollywood or Los Angeles where I work 2 months of the year. They are war zones. You can't walk outside at night, period. I don't give a damn if it's the Army, the National Guard, the FBI. I couldn't care less, and I can guarantee you 80, 90, 100% of the people there don't care either. They just want to walk outside.
I understand that people do want safety. I mean, there's no question about
safety,
that, right?
You
people
get
want
beaten
safety.
to a pulp
Yeah, people
in broad daylight
want
in LA.
safety and security.
Thank you. And then again, what is this tendency on CNN to hear somebody's personal experience? And I very recently had this exact same experience when you're walking around after sundown in Los Angeles, and you cannot go a block without feeling like you're under threat. It is a war zone. So here he is explaining his personal experience, and Abby, again, with the wave of the hand. Oh, I understand people wanting to feel safe. I get it, but they're wearing camo. And they're carrying mean-looking guns. Nobody wants that. It's like, here, I understand. It's America. We're not used to seeing troops on our streets, okay? Unless there's a riot in a Democrat-run city or a natural disaster in a Democrat-run state, with floods and fires and earthquakes and all the things that Gavin Newsom brings to the table. He's probably not responsible for the earthquakes. I understand that. And guess what? I share your concern. Nobody wants to reach the point where we have to bring in the National Guard to shore up law enforcement. You've brought us here. You have dragged us to this point. You think everybody wants this? You've defunded the police. You've made it unhospitable for people to join the police forces. I guarantee you, in every city that we're talking about, from Chicago to Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles, they are understaffed in their municipal police department because they can't recruit cops. Because who would want to be a cop to work for those mayors and work for that city council that undermines them, that spent all of 2020 on one knee bowing to the mob, saying, you're right, cops are awful. So they don't have enough cops to do the job. And in those cases, it makes sense to bring in National Guard to reinforce and shore up their needs. And then there's like, well, nobody wants troops in the streets. Why can't we just have cops? Because you've driven them away. That's why. And try as we might to just say, would you please be normal? 80% of the people living in this country think this is a major problem. Let go of your destructive agenda to satisfy the radical racist agitators who continue to claim that we are a systemically racist society and the police officers only bring more crime and mayhem and violence. And as soon as we get rid of cops, everything will be hunky-dory, because you tried your experiment and look at where the hell we are now. Please just be normal. And they can't do it. They just can't do it. And it's from elected officials, congressmen, senators, presidential candidates, television reporters, and news commentators. And then, of course, the man on the street, the typical Democrat, person on the street, like this individual who wanted to put on a little bit of a display in front of some National Guardsmen walking down the sidewalk of Washington, D.C. This is what they're contending with. This.
Hey, how are you? Okay, excuse us. Excuse us. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Did I do it right? I don't know if I did it. I don't know if I did it right. Did I do it right?
What in the hell is that? What in the ever-living hell is that? I do love the soldiers are like, okay, excuse us. Have a good day. That'd be a Democrat voter right there. That'd be your Democrat voter. This is how insane they are in Washington, D.C. Local media personality on the X platform snapped this photograph of a neighborhood sign. Hi, neighbor. You may have heard a bit of a joyful noise on our block recently. We're joining a citywide action to protest the fascist takeover of our beloved D.C. Every night. But by the way, I want to point out this is actually on an elevator, right? You can see the elevator panel there. So they put this in their elevator building. I guarantee you, this building with an elevator has a doorman and a security guard and probably a key fob to keep people out who don't belong in that building. They live behind the cloistered, protected, secure. The doorman might even be armed, depending on the neighborhood they're in. So they're in their little protective shell. And they don't give a damn about the people who are dealing with all this crime and mayhem without security, without a key fob, without security cameras everywhere. Every night at 8 p.m. for 5 minutes, we'll be outside making noise together. It's a small action with a big heart. And seeing neighbors join in is for the next 30 days. Oh, it's powerful. If we can keep it up for the next 30 days, we can send a ripple of joy, awareness, and resistance across DC. Join us. freedcproject.org for more info. Oh, we should probably go to that website and sign up. I've seen the videos of what freedcproject.org does. Picture this now. In DC and Montgomery County, Northern Virginia, schools are back in session now, right? So you've got your first grader getting ready for school tomorrow. And you put them down at bedtime, or maybe it's just close to bedtime, so you're winding down. You got your bath routine, gets into the little footy jammies. Maybe you start reading Goodnight Moon, right? And at the stroke of 8 o'clock, for 5 minutes straight, these lunatic left-wing Democrat idiots stand on the sidewalk underneath your window and they bang pots and pans to make a racket for 5 minutes straight. Because solidarity. And then they immediately go right back into their secured, safe, protected building and ride the elevator, feeling really great about themselves and destroying any semblance of peace and quiet. you've ever had. And then there's this message posted on Reddit. I was assaulted today in DC, and I want to say 3 things. Before that, just one quick thing. I'm okay. Just a little bit of a headache and angry at the person who did it. Number one, we have amazing neighbors. This happened in a fairly public area, and so many people stopped to check on me, called the police, gave statements if they saw it, and just generally were good neighbors. We have an amazing community. Number two, as much sometimes warranted hell we give Metropolitan Police Department on this this is a subreddit. The officers were thoughtful, courteous, and took their time to understand the situation and give me reassurance that they would follow through on figuring out what happened. I want to pause there. She's acknowledging, I'm thinking it's a she, that they routinely give the cops hell on their little DC subreddit here. I wonder if she's ever actually had a personal encounter with DC police like she just did before giving them hell, unwarranted hell. Because it's really easy to do that. Yeah, we hate the cops. The cops suck. And then here's the day when she needs the cops. And, oh my gosh, you know what? The cops are great. Who knew? Part of the problem. Number 3. This is my favorite. Again, this is a victim. This is somebody who got attacked, who suffered injuries. Federal law enforcement presence would not have and did not prevent this. All caps. It was a random, unprovoked attack in a fairly public area known for moderate police presence already, and it's exactly the sort of thing that Trump believes could be prevented if he had thousands of boots on the ground in D.C. Even after this morning's assault, my opinion on this has not changed one bit. This is a municipal issue that federal troops are simply not qualified to handle. The assailant doesn't need to be tried in federal court. He needs mental health support services along with whatever legal recourse we decide to undertake. I'm both angry and sad because this is the last thing that DC needs right now. The crime hawks would point at this and use it as fodder, which is not the will of the person who has a voice in it all, the victim. This is left-wing ideology taken to its perfect conclusion and resolution. They will literally rather be murdered than relinquish their firmly held knowledge that Trump is evil, you are evil for supporting him, and he cannot do anything right. Rather I get murdered than admit that Trump is right about this. Rather my family get murdered and our entire building get burned down. To the grave and beyond the grave, I will scream that Trump is evil. And we must defeat him. He's the problem. He's the cause of it all. You cannot fix this. There is no fixing it. I weep for their future, but I'm pretty encouraged for our future because ultimately we're winning. 80%, 81% of Americans see exactly what's going on here. But that 19%, boy, they are stubborn and loud. Yesterday, President Trump held a cabinet meeting. Remember those? He's done one every month. Far cry from his predecessor. He also opened it up to the media, and it was completely transparent. It was a remarkable scene. It went on forever, like almost 3 hours, I think. But there were a couple of moments that we captured that we want to share with you. First, a couple of very powerful moments. First, from a reporter for the video entity, NTD News, I believe it is, associated with Epoch Times. She, a reporter, White House correspondent, has suffered a violent assault in Washington, D.C. She wanted to share her story with the president and then thank him for it. And I want to remind you, as you see this story, that her colleagues in the White House Correspondents Association and her colleagues back in the studios at CNN and the broadcast networks, they've been spending the last 2 weeks trying to convince all of America that what happened to this woman is a myth. Think about having to go to work every day with all of your colleagues thinking that you're a lying fool because you were the victim of a violent criminal act. Watch this.
My name is Iris Tao. I'm a White House correspondent for NTD, the sister media of the Epoch Times. So more than 2 years ago, it was a Saturday morning, in broad daylight. I was on my way to work, and a young man with a black ski mask pointed a gun at my face and threatened me to hand over my phone, my wallet, my laptop, and everything else. And when I refused, he used the butt of his handgun to strike me across the face, in the cheek, where what some people call pistol whip me before running away. And that has deeply traumatized myself and my family. Ever since, I've never dared to walk in the street of DC at night ever, and my family was extremely worried. So, Mr. President, thank you so much for what you're doing right now.
Thank you for being honest.
Such incidents involve not just me, but also my family. If he had shot me, I could have died right there in the middle of nowhere without my families or my friends knowing at the age of back then, I think 23.
Right.
Just starting my career here in DC without even starting a family. Right now, I'm very blessed to have this opportunity.
So you had a gun pointed at your head, and you probably figured that he's going to pull the trigger because these are animals that don't know what the hell. They couldn't care less. The pulling the trigger to him is a very minor event, and I'm sure he's done it before. So how did you? And you did refuse to give it, which would probably, maybe somebody would say that was not the right decision, right? But you refused. But I understand that. So and then he hit you real hard.
Yes.
It's really amazing that you weren't shot. That was.
I'm very blessed, and that's why having this opportunity to stand here to share my story today. One, I'm very grateful for God for allowing me to still survive to this day, but also to Mr. President. Thank you for now making DC safer.
Thank you very much.
For us, for our families, for my parents, on my behalf of my parents, and now my baby on the way. Thank you so much.
There are other reporters and journalists and good people, and you don't have to say it, but that have also been attacked violently, and not violently too, but pretty badly. But and I bet you see a big difference in the streets right now. And this is only 12 days, but people are telling me they're going out to dinner now.
Yeah, we've got more from the president here, but here's what's interesting. I bet you didn't see that on your local news or on your network news, on your cable news. It's funny, like when Jim Acosta starts arguing with the president, that gets covered everywhere. You know, if there's another White House reporter or White House correspondent that starts, antagonizing the president, and they have an angry back and forth, that's drama. So, of course, all the networks, even if it's not their reporter, they'll give them publicity because they want to show it because it's huge. It's really important. And here we've got another reporter thanking the president for doing something about crime because of the story that she had, and it's radio silence everywhere. Doesn't get any coverage because they're not in the news business. It doesn't serve their agenda, especially since they've spent the last 2 weeks telling you that there is no crime problem in D.C. I mean, what are the odds that there's no crime problem in D.C., and yet one of their own colleagues, a journalist, got pistol whipped while covering the White House? And she wasn't the only one. You just heard the president say, I'm sure there are other reporters this has happened to. And then here we go. New York Post reporter.
Just a few weeks ago, I was out to dinner with my husband, and we're taking the metro back, and then we get attacked on the metro. They're throwing things. Some teenagers, they're throwing liquid at us.
Oh, they're throwing things. They throw. How about where they chop down the granite curbs and the concrete curbs? But the granite curbs so expensive. Those granite curbs, nobody uses them because they're so expensive. And you see a guy chopping them and handing out big chunks of them like a brick, because they couldn't get in because people were stopping them from walking out. A little bit unusual when you're walking with a bag of bricks. Generally speaking, Sean, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. But they now come in with hammers. They can disguise a hammer, and they start pounding the concrete and the granite, and they hand out chunks. And those people take those chunks and start throwing them at cops, or they stand on the top of bridges and they drop them down into the windshield of your car, and you get killed running into a light pole. It's those days are over.
I wanted to ask you, Governor Hochul, Kathy Hochul, said that she spoke to you on the phone, and you said you might send National Guard troops to New York. You mentioned that. So will you?
I'd love to do it. If she'd like, I get along with Kathy. If she'd like to do that, I would do it. You see, look, New York has difficulty like other, and I don't want to make this I want to make this like friendly, but the
places we're talking about happen to be virtually all Democrat run. Now, take a look at your 25 places that are most troubled. Everyone, except maybe one, and it's way back in number 24 or 25, but essentially 25 out of 25 are run by Democrats. And cashless bail was a disaster. When they did that, and I believe it was instituted first in New York, but when they did cashless bail, that was a tragedy for this, because that's when it really started. It really started getting bad. When somebody kills somebody, you don't say you can come out, you don't have to put up anything. You put that person in jail and you find out whether or not it's true, but you don't give cashless bail with a promise to come back in a couple of months. We'll start talking to you, because they go out and they kill other people, and you can't do that. The cashless bail has been, it's just a woke thing. It's got to stop. You see that, Christy, better than anybody. It's got to stop. It causes unbelievable. And we're doing that. We're stopping it in D.C. I would love to have the governor of Illinois call me and say, look, we have a problem in Chicago. We will stop that problem in Chicago in 2 months, maybe less, 2 months. We'll stop it. These are tough cookies we have working for us. These are tough cookies. These are not politically correct soldiers. That I won't go into definitions of what that means, but these are not politically correct soldiers. These are rough guys. I watched it last night. I see it. I saw them the other day when we went down and we spent some time together with them. These are tough cookies. These are not people that you're going to laugh at and spit in their face and they're not going to do anything about it.
That's right. And they're focused on one thing and one thing only, and that is keeping order. That's what we need. Not every day, not once things are back to normal, once we have a staffed police and local law enforcement contingent who are able to keep order. But when things get out of control and there's no fixing it with Band-Aids, then yeah, this is what's needed. President Trump also, again, to remind you, he has a certain level of executive authority over the Federal District of Columbia. He floated another idea with regard to the crime problem at the cabinet meeting. Tons of stuff happened at this cabinet meeting. We've got plenty here.
By the way, speaking of that, anybody murders something in the Capitol, capital punishment, capital punishment. If somebody kills somebody in the Capitol, Washington, D.C., we're going to be seeking the death penalty. And that's a very strong preventative. And everybody that's heard it agrees with it. I don't know if we're ready for it in this country, but where you have it, it is, we have no choice. So in D.C. and Washington, states are going to have to make their own decision. But if somebody kills somebody, like you could have been killed, very lucky you didn't get killed, it's the death penalty, okay?
Floating the death penalty for murder in the District of Columbia. And I know a lot of people, and I respect you, and it's worthy of a conversation some other time about your feelings morally, ethically, religiously on the death penalty. Set that aside for a minute. Just think logically for a second. Just in terms of the death penalty as a deterrent, if you know that the death penalty will actually be enforced in an expedited manner, and you don't, drag it out for 15, 20 years like we do in this country right now. But if you knew that there would be a no questions asked death penalty if you murdered somebody, but only if that murder took place on a Monday. You murder somebody on any other day of the week, if you get caught and you're convicted, you'll get a jail sentence, but not the death penalty. But if you murder someone on a Monday, you're done. It's history, capital punishment like that. Just logically think it through. What do you think the murder rate would be on a Monday compared to the other days of the week? You think it wouldn't make a difference? And then as soon as you realize the rational, logical thought process here, you understand that it can be a very effective deterrent to crime. He then addressed critics of the president's policies here by saying he's acting like a dictator.
So the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime.
There you go. All right. So he did the, sure, Mussolini's a fascist, but he makes the trains run on time. But then, of course, immediately followed up with, but I'm not really a fascist. So it's a good line, and he's good at this. All right, a little bit more here. I think we already had that clip, so let's move on to this one. Oh, this is a great moment. Secretary, I think it's fair to say that Secretary of State Marco Rubio has exceeded expectations in his new role, transitioning seamlessly from the United States Senate to the State Department. He's been phenomenal. And not only in terms of enforcing the president's policies overseas and effectively communicating the president's policies to foreign leaders, but also his confidence in the media when he's debating with the people who are trying to play the gotcha game and go after him in media appearances. He's great in handling these teleprompter readers. But what's been missed is a real coming into his own in confidence with regard to his sense of humor. You got to have a sense of humor when you run for office, when you want to be an elected official at the federal level. Kamala Harris's biggest problem was, A, she wasn't funny. B, she thought she was funny. And C, she cackled at her own jokes when nobody else was laughing with her. It was the cringiest thing in the world. Marco Rubio, as you'll see here, is genuinely funny.
Mr. President, first of all, everyone's made this comment already and needs to be echoed again. You were elected as the president of working Americans, and that's why this Labor Day is so meaningful. For me personally, this is the most meaningful Labor Day of my life as someone with 4 jobs. And so it's true. Mr. President, first.
I love that. If you don't get the joke, he literally does have 4 titles right now. He's Secretary of State, he's National Security Advisor. I think he's in charge of the archives and head of USAID. Hey, look at that. I got his 4 jobs off the top of my head. But then he also says something which I think was a joke. But when I heard it, I'm ready. I mean, listen, I know it's early. It's not 2028 yet. But if Rubio's serious about this next idea, I might be ready to volunteer for his campaign.
This thing about people getting married on Saturdays during college football season is a scourge, Mr. President. It's dividing families. I don't know if we can have an executive order on this. It's insane, but it's really difficult. There's 7 other months of the year that people can get married. So I just wanted to say that because it's very, very difficult. Thank you.
Fantastic.
So let's just, for a moment, pause about this. And I guess I'm very pro-marriage. Even Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, terrific. In fact, they might get married at halftime at the Super Bowl. Lord knows Travis Kelce will have the day off. So, but can we just pause for a moment? Because Marco Rubio, before this announcement, the last big thing he announced when he was still in the Senate was to do away with daylight savings time. I'm telling you, if a Rubio 28 platform, after Trump solved everything for these 4 years and we have no crime problems and there's peace in the world and our economy is through the roof and there's no more trade imbalance and our borders is secured and we've deported all the illegal immigrants, it's like, well, what else can we do? If Marco Rubio's platform in 28 is we do away with daylight savings time and we prohibit weddings on Saturdays during college football season, I'm thinking president for life. Discuss. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your reaction. Because are you one of those guys? Because I live for college football season. I live for college football season. This Saturday, opening day. Go Navy. Go Blue. Do you ever do you have that moment with your wife where you have to say, yeah, I know we got invited to the wedding, but honey, Michigan's playing Notre Dame. Where are our priorities? I know it's my daughter, but come on. Just saying. All right, more from Trump and some of his off-the-cuff observations at this marathon cabinet meeting yesterday.
Okay, you know what I think? I think this. You have not had this happen for 4 years. You sat and you'd ask one question to Biden, and it was always the ice cream question, right? What flavor ice cream do you like best?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm a bad host. That's our last clip, and I put it out of order. I'm sorry, Kevin. That's my bad. You did it right. I did it wrong.
Ooh.
Sorry. Let's go here instead.
I think almost every Republican will vote for an extension because no matter what deal you make with these people, look at Schumer. He made a deal a year and a half ago. And after making the deal, he's been almost run out of the party. He's not the same man. He's not the same man. He's finished. He aged 20 years. He's become a Palestinian, by the way. We call him our great Palestinian senator. But Chuck Schumer, and I wrote him a letter. I said, Chuck, that was really great. Thank you very much. And somebody gave the letter to the press, not me. And he was destroyed because they thought I was being sarcastic, and I wasn't. He made a great decision. It kept our country open. It was a positive. But you can count on almost no vote. I mean, I see things.
Chuck Schumer is a Palestinian. I think that's hilarious. He also was asked about Gavin Newsom and his newfound media presence and voice, and he had some pretty wise observations about Newsom.
He's a nice guy, looks good. Hi, everybody. How you doing? He's got some strange hand action going. I don't know what the hell his problem is. It's a little weird, to be honest. There's a little something shaky going on there.
I think that says it all. Also, during this very long cabinet meeting, news broke. I'm sure you've heard about it by now. It spread like wildfire, made its way into the cabinet meeting. Tay-Tay is engaged. And of course, we had to get President Trump's reaction.
Chelsea and Taylor Swift are engaged, and what wants your reaction, sir?
Well, I wish him a lot of luck. No, I think it's. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
That's very magnanimous, actually, and uncharacteristically supportive. Well, didn't Trump say several months ago that ever since Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris, she's no longer hot? I believe that is a direct quote from a social media post. But I do like, I mean, it was basically supportive. Although, did you notice a little bit of a edge at the very beginning here?
What wants your reaction, sir?
Well, I wish him a lot of luck.
I think we all understand exactly what he means there. Yes. I'm sure that's just his way of saying best wishes to the happy couple. Many happy returns. Yeah, I wish him a lot of luck. Good luck with that one. You might want to call Prince Harry and have a conversation first. Just saying. Wish him a lot of luck. Good luck with that. All right. And finally, President Trump wrapped this thing up by giving a very apt comparison to his first 7 months on the job and this cabinet meeting and his access to the press and the media and transparency with his predecessor.
Okay, you know what I think? I think this. You have not had this happen for 4 years. You sat and you'd ask one question to Biden, and it was always the ice cream question, right? What flavor ice cream do you like best? I like vanilla. And that was the end of the conference. I think now we've done enough. These people are very busy. I want to just thank, this is the greatest, this has never been done before. First of all, a cabinet meeting was sacred. You'd never let the fake news media in. But the fake news media isn't all fake. It's, a lot of it is, but it's not all. I think it's a great thing. I think maybe it's going to be done in the future. I hope it's going to be done. But you really get the word out. I mean, we had each one of these people spoke. I think each one, if I thought one of them did badly, I would call that person out. I would say, Christy, what the heck are you doing? No, but no, seriously, you have a very talented group of people. They get along, they work along together. And there's something really nice about just, you know, the openness of what we're doing. It's government. It's an open government. That's what we are. And we haven't made too many mistakes. Maybe we'll, but we haven't made too many mistakes. We've called it right. And I think you can be very proud of your country. We are a respected country again. We are really, right now, respected at the highest level, and we're doing great. And we're a very rich country again, very rich. And that's a good thing, because when we're rich, we can take care of poor. And that's what we're doing. And we're taking care of crime. And I hope, just in finishing, I hope that Illinois, I hope that New York, I hope that California, I hope they call me and they say, I'd love to have you come in and help us out. I will be a totally different person with them. I will respect them for doing it. Thank you all very much.
And with that, President Trump concluded his August cabinet meeting and began a mini vacation. I think he's out of town through the Labor Day weekend, and things are going to be a little calmer in Washington, D.C. without him, sadly. That's a wrap for his cabinet meeting and a wrap for our program today. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get to your super chats, though, if we could. Psychological projectionist over there across the pond with a £5 super chat. Trump's secret sauce is he cares more for people and their quality of life than his personal power, but Democrats demsplain him the other way around. I couldn't have said it better myself. And they still don't understand it. They still don't get it. Well said, sir. Thank you for that. Casperius with a $5 super chat. I swear the Democrats have a sick, twisted self-cancellation empathy issue. That's a great way of putting it, too. God, you guys are good today. Thank you for that. Good. Well said. £2 super chat from God's best friend. Chuck is the most Palestinian Jew in the galaxy. He didn't used to be that way, but boy, does he see which way the wind is blowing now, doesn't he? Thank you for that. Much obliged. And Trump came and come and save London. He'd love to. Oh, are you kidding me? He is going to. Boy, that state dinner is coming up this fall, isn't it? He's going to be there. That will be fantastic. I'm coming across the pond, too, but not to England. I'm flying straight over you into the Netherlands for a couple of days and then into Norway for my vacation. We've told you that we've got a vacation coming up, but we just finished today with a bunch of great interviews pretty much every day, almost every day. We will be presenting something at noon from me, interviews with some real cool newsmakers, some great guys. Should we tell them who we got? Should we float one name to them, Kevin? Or make it a surprise?
Let's make it a surprise, but I
All right.
think I'm going to plan on releasing it tomorrow. So keep an eye out at noon Eastern tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow, not Friday?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try tomorrow.
All right. So starting tomorrow and through all of next week, the holiday week, we'll try to give you some content on a regular basis and it'll be at noon. So make sure that's another good reason to subscribe and hit that bell so you find out when it's coming. And then I'll be back. Well, I won't be tanned, rested, and ready because I don't think Scandinavia tans you this time of year, but I will be rested and ready. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Don't forget, if you want to support the show, we love seeing your ratings and your subscription and your reviews over there at Apple Podcasts and at Spotify. Really, really means a lot to us if you can do that. And that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching today. We'll be back soon. My name is Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry.